Welcome to our study of the solar system. My name is Kathy Howland and I'm a 4-H extension agent in Powhatan County, Virginia. Today's lesson will focus on the motions of the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. So our solar system is made up of the Sun, 8 planets, and their moons. The planets all orbit around the Sun and moons orbit around a planet. For today's lesson, I want you to remember that the Earth is always moving. Often we look up and we observe. We assume that the sun, and stars are traveling across the sky, but it's actually the Earth that's rotating around the sun. So it's rotating as our globe is. So what happens when the Earth rotates on its axis? This is the axis right here. The Earth rotates on its axis every 24 hours. As you can see from this picture, globes are tilted because the Earth is tilted relative to its orbit. During the Earth's rotation, locations all over the Earth experience day and night. You may have wondered why this happens. This is because we face towards the sun for part of the day and away from the sun for another part, which is when it's nighttime. Here's an example. When you see the sun rise at 6 a.m., the Earth will continue spinning completely around 360 degrees, so by the next morning at 6 a.m., you'll see the sun in about the same spot. Just envision the globe spinning, resembling the Earth here, and the portion facing the sun experiences day, while the portion facing away from the sun experiences night. These are patterns we can observe daily, just like the stars moving across the sky. The night sky looks different since we can only see when we're looking away from the sun. This is why certain stars are visible at varying times of the year. So we're going to try a shadow experiment, and I'm hoping you can find a partner. You don't need many supplies: chalk, sunshine, and someone else. I ended up doing it by myself, so it is possible to do it by yourself, just a little more difficult. So you are going to follow these instructions. Basically, you're going to draw the shadow of an item or a person standing in the same spot at different time intervals, and then we'll see what happens. Hopefully you'll see some change. As you can see, the sun shining down on the ball creates a shadow on the pavement. In the northern hemisphere, the shadow points towards the west in the morning. Around noon, when the sun is close to overhead, the shadow is short and points north. When the sun's low at the end of the day, like at the 4:30 shadow, the shadow points east. As each hour goes by, you can actually track as the sun rotates. Remember that even though it appears that the sun is moving across the sky, it's really Earth that's rotating. So I think we've covered the Earth's rotations, so we're going to move on to the orbits. While the Earth rotates on its axis, it also moves in a circle around the sun once every 365.25 days. That's what's called the Earth's orbit. We've always been taught that there are 365 days in a year. So what happens when the Earth doesn't quite get around the sun in that amount of time? A leap year was created. That's what happens. Since our normal calendar is 365 days a year, we add an extra day to our calendar every 4 years. This creates that leap year. That extra 20.25 days are accounted for by adding an extra day to our calendar every 4 years. Most of the time, our calendar has 365 days, but in a leap year, there are 366 days. So wouldn't that be special if you were born on that day? There are 24 time zones on Earth. The globe is divided into time zones, which helps us account for the movement of the sun's light across the world. Wouldn't it be confusing if it was daylight here at 9 a.m., but halfway across the globe it was dark at 9 a.m.? Check out this map of North America. All of the time zones are depicted in different colors. So as you can see, Eastern Daylight Time is in red, there on the right where we are. Then you've got Central Daylight Time in yellow, Mountain Daylight Time in green, and Pacific Daylight Time in orange. You may have heard, maybe you're watching TV and see a promo for a show coming on Saturday night, and they say, this show will air at 9 p.m. Eastern. That means we in Virginia will see it at 9 p.m. But if they're watching in California, it's going to be a 3-hour lag between when they see it and when we see it. I hope you've learned something new and interesting about the motions of the Earth, Moon, and Sun. It's fascinating to learn more about all of these crazy things going on in our solar system. But I did want to mention to you before I go to check out 4-H. If you haven't been involved in 4-H, it's got so many opportunities. You can find 4-H programs across the country in every city and county. Here in Powhatan, we've got an office right in the village area. We have 4-H camps, school enrichment programs, after-school programs, and clubs. See you next time.